The scene opens high in the mountains of India in 1928, and we see a man braving a storm in his tent. He sees a bright light start shining outside and decides to hike further up the mountain to investigate it. As he gets closer to the light, he sees that it's a giant sphere covered in ice and glowing with different colored lights. He chips the ice away with his pickaxe, and there is suddenly a bright flash of light. After the light fades, we see the man sitting down in the snow, with the glowing sphere having disappeared behind him. We are next introduced to Dr. Helen Benson as she teaches her biology class at Princeton in the present day. After wrapping up her class, she goes home to her stepson Jacob, and we learn that Jacob's father had died about a year ago. While cooking some dinner for the two of them, she gets a call telling her to open her door, and she sees that there is a whole team of federal agents waiting outside for her. The agents tell her she needs to leave with them right now, and she has her neighbor look after Jacob while she's gone. While they drive to their destination, Helen notices that the road they are on is completely clear of traffic, and one of the agents tells her that it was cleared specifically for them. They soon arrive at an airstrip, and Helen is put onto a large plane that is full of other scientists like her. They figure that since there are so many different types of scientists on the plane, the situation must be pretty unusual. They are all then flown to another military base, where they are given a short presentation explaining why they were called there. Apparently, a large object was recently spotted entering the solar system, and it appears to be heading straight for Earth. They estimate that the impact location will be in New York City in approximately 78 minutes, and they have called everyone there to help plan for the aftermath of the event. Somebody asks if they can deflect the object using missiles, but apparently all of the military's defense systems have been taken offline and are no longer responsive to controls. Helen goes into the bathroom and sneaks a phone call to Jacob, telling him to hide down in the basement with the neighbor because there is a bad storm coming. The group of scientists are then taken up in a helicopter as the object enters the Earth's atmosphere. They all count down to impact, but once they get to zero, the impact never comes. They look out the window and see that the object is slowing down, looking like a bright, shining light floating through the sky. The light eventually touches down in the middle of Central Park, and the scientists are quickly flown over to its location. As they start to walk toward the glowing object, they see that it's a massive sphere, looking like it's full of swirling storm clouds. While more people begin to surround the sphere, the bottom of it begins to light up, and a human-shaped form steps out of it and starts to walk towards the scientists. Helen reaches out her hand to the alien creature, but someone suddenly shoots at it, spraying the being's blood onto her face shield. The sphere then begins to react, changing to an orange hue and releasing a large gray robot with a red laser-like eye. All the nearby electronics then begin to power down, and the robot starts to emit a loud screeching sound, bringing everyone in the area to their knees. The robot then reaches out for the injured alien lying in Helen's arms, but the alien tells it to stop, speaking to it in its own language. Everything then goes back to normal as the robot powers down. They then quickly bring in a medical team to help transport the alien to another location. Once they get the alien back to the lab, they try to remove the bullet from its body, careful not to do anything that might hurt it. They notice its body is covered in a thick, slimy skin, but when the doctor cuts beneath it, the body looks incredibly human. After taking the bullet out, the doctor notices that the outer skin of the alien is starting to melt away, and he helps to remove some of it himself. Once the skin is removed, they are all shocked to find what looks like a normal human body underneath. The alien is unconscious and appears to be very weak, so they leave it in observation while they discuss what to do. Once the alien wakes up, it introduces itself as Klaatu, and they see that it can speak English. The Secretary of Defense wants to take it to be interrogated, and she asks Helen to inject it with a sedative. Helen doesn't want to hurt the alien, so she gives him a saline injection instead and tells him quietly to run. Klaatu then gets wheeled into another room where he is hooked up to a polygraph machine, and the examiner begins to ask him some questions. After a few minutes, the machine appears to malfunction, and when the examiner touches it, he seems to have a short seizure before coming under the control of Klaatu. Klaatu then asks the man several questions about how to exit the facility before taking the man's suit and disconnecting from his mind. He then starts to produce the same signal from his brain as the robot did earlier, causing all the guards of the facility to fall to the floor, completely incapacitated. He leaves the facility and makes his way to a train station, where he ends up calling Helen for help, as he is still feeling the effects of his gunshot wound. She gives him a small sample of the gray suit that he arrived in, and he rubs it on his wound, causing it to instantly heal. We next see the military attempting to attack the large robot still standing in Central Park. They send a series of missiles at it, launched from some drones, but the robot is able to easily destroy them and causes the drones to crash into some nearby tanks. After a couple more unsuccessful attacks, they decide to try putting a large metal container around the robot, hoping to trap it in place. They manage to successfully contain it and then transport it to another nearby facility located deep underground. We then cut back to Helen as she continues to drive Klaatu to the location he told her. Once they arrive, he gets out of the car and walks over to a small orb located in a nearby pond. He reaches out and touches the orb, and it seems to send a signal out to a bunch of other orbs located all around the globe. The orbs appear to be gathering up different species of animals before flying up into the sky, leaving the Earth behind. We next see the military attempting to drill into the large robot from their secure underground base. When the drill bit breaks, they send someone in to replace it, and we see that the drill bit is covered by a bunch of tiny, self-replicating, insect-like nanobots that are rapidly eating through the metal. The creatures then start to chew through the suit of the man changing the drill bit, quickly ending his life. They then start to eat through the glass, separating the two rooms, with the robot itself then dissolving into a swarm of the nanobots and breaking out of its underground prison. The swarm then manages to escape the facility, consuming everything in its path. We then see Klaatu getting back to the car where Helen and Jacob are waiting, and Helen asks him about his intentions since she helped to save him. He tells her that unfortunately humans are a poison to the planet, and he is here to save the Earth by wiping them all out. Shocked that he's able to admit it so calmly, Helen decides to take him to a professor friend of hers to try to convince him that humanity is worth saving. After spending some time with the professor, Klaatu is convinced that this near-extinction experience may force humans to change enough that they will no longer need to be destroyed, and he decides that he will call off the swarm. They then leave the professor's home and head back to the sphere, while the swarm continues to tear through the country, destroying everything it comes into contact with. As they get close to the sphere, the swarm starts to surround them, forcing them under a bridge for cover. The nanobots then start to infect both Helen and Jacob, and Klaatu uses his abilities to pull the creatures out of their bodies and into his, saving their lives. He then tells Helen that there will be a price to pay, but humanity will survive, before he walks out into the swarm and toward the giant sphere. Once he touches the sphere, the swarm instantly freezes in place, before falling to the ground harmlessly. We then see all the lights around the world go out, as it appears humanity is losing its ability to generate electricity as a payment for its continued survival. Helen and Jacob then walk across the sea of dead nanobots towards the giant sphere, watching as it floats away into the sky, leaving the Earth alone, for now. Like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. See you next time.